From abusive marriage to the heartbreaking search, the tale of Lobna Yakout and the new Cairo serial killer. Lobna Yakout never imagined that the men she had once loved and married could turn into the monstrous figure he would become. For years, she endured his abuse, thinking that leaving him would be enough to escape the horror. But she never knew just how deep Karim Selim's darkness ran. For years after their divorce, Lobna would learn the terrifying truth that her ex-husband, Karim, was the new Cairo serial killer, a man who had brutally murdered 3 women and more, while hiding behind the mask of a charming, successful man. This is the story of a woman's fight for survival, a mother's desperate search for her son, and a chilling revelation that would haunt a nation. Karim Selim was born to a well-to-do family on August 15, 1987. He grew up in the upper echelons of Egyptian society, his family's wealth and connections ensuring he had access to the best education and opportunities. He attended the prestigious American University in Cairo, AUC, where he earned a degree in English. After graduation, he worked as a teacher at an international school, which painted him as a respected member of the community. From the outside, Karim seemed like the perfect gentleman, a promising young man with a bright future ahead. He was well-spoken, refined, and cultured, and had a sizable following on social media. Karim's TikTok channel, where he taught American English, was particularly popular, and he often posted videos portraying himself as a loving family man. But as Lobna would later discover, Karim's exterior was nothing more than a facade. Behind closed doors, his true nature was far darker, revealing a man capable of unimaginable cruelty. It was 2014 when Lobna, then in her late 20s, first met Karim Selim. She was a bright, independent woman, living her life and working in Cairo. She had never anticipated falling for someone like Karim, intelligent, charismatic, and attentive. When he first approached her, his charm swept her off her feet. Their connection felt almost magical, and in no time, they were married. But soon after the wedding, Lobna began to see the cracks in their relationship. The first signs of his controlling behavior emerged subtly. Karim didn't like it when she spent time with friends or family, and he became more possessive as the months went by. His temper was explosive, and although he masked it with occasional apologies, the damage had already begun. He seemed perfect at first, Lobna recalls softly, looking out over the London skyline. But over time, I started seeing the cracks. His anger, the control, it was suffocating. One night, after a minor disagreement, Karim slapped her across the face. It was the first time he physically hurt me, Lobna admits, her voice trembling. I didn't know what to do. I thought it was a one-time thing, but I was wrong. It was just the beginning. Over the next few years, Lobna's life became a living nightmare. Karim's abuse was relentless, mental, physical, and emotional. But outwardly, they continued to live a picture-perfect life, and no one suspected the horrors behind closed doors. They had a son, Zayn, and despite the terror that ruled their home, Lobna clung to the hope that things might change once their child was born. However, the abuse only escalated after Zayn's birth. Karim grew increasingly erratic, and Lobna found herself walking on eggshells, afraid to set him off. I tried to make it work for the sake of Zayn, she says. But I realized I couldn't stay in that environment anymore. It was dangerous for both of us. In 2020, after years of enduring Karim's torment, Lobna made the difficult decision to leave. She packed up her belongings and took her 5-year-old son, Zayn, and moved into a new apartment in Cairo. But even then, Karim's hold over her didn't loosen. He began to stalk her, sending threatening messages and showing up uninvited. She recalls one instance when he waited outside her apartment for days, a knife in his hand, until she was forced to sneak away in disguise. I remember feeling like I was trapped in a nightmare, Lobna recalls. I couldn't breathe. I didn't know what he might do next. The terror continued to grow as Karim began making more disturbing threats. One chilling conversation stands out in her memory. "I'll find you," he said over the phone. "No one will keep me from getting you back." In early 2021, after a brief meeting between father and son, Zayn was taken by Karim, and his mother never saw him again. Karim refused to return him, and Lobna, fearing for Zayn's safety, fled Cairo entirely in 2022, moving to the UK under a new identity. "I couldn't go on living in constant fear. I had to protect Zayn and myself," she says. "I left Cairo with nothing but hope. Hope that I'd be able to find him again." In May 2024, Lobna received a call that would change her life forever. The voice on the other end, an investigator from Egypt, was calm, but his words hit her like a punch to the stomach. "Lobna, we've arrested Karim Selim," the officer said. "He's been involved in a series of murders." Lobna's mind raced as she tried to process the information. "What do you mean? Karim's in jail?" "What happened?" she asked, barely able to comprehend the gravity of the situation. The officer explained that Karim had been arrested for the brutal murders of 3 women, whom he had lured into his home under false pretenses, drugged, tortured, and killed. He filmed his horrific acts inside a soundproof room in his upscale Fifth Settlement apartment, a chilling detail that would later stun the world. "I thought it was a setup, something he orchestrated to get to me," Lobna says, still in disbelief. "But then I heard the details, the same method of torture, the same pattern. And the way they described the victims, I realized it was all true." Karim had been living a double life, charming and respected on the outside, but hiding his twisted desires beneath the surface. He confessed to the murders, and the investigation revealed evidence of multiple victims, many of whom were sex workers. The police found footage of his violent acts, each victim subjected to unspeakable cruelty. Karim was convicted in August 2024 for the murders of 3 women. He had also confessed to more killings, though the authorities were still investigating. His trial sent shockwaves through Egypt, a nation still reeling from gender-based violence and the horrors of his crimes. He was dubbed the Fifth Settlement Murderer and the New Cairo Serial Killer. On August 24, 2024, Karim was sentenced to death. But in Egypt, before such a sentence can be carried out, it must be ratified by the Grand Mufti, a legal formality. The final decision on Karim's fate would be made on September 12, 2024, though the death sentence can still be appealed before a higher court. Lobna felt a complex mixture of emotions when she heard about the verdict. "He deserves this," she says, her voice shaking with anger and grief. "But I can't help but wonder, what about my son? Where is Zayn?" As Karim's legal battles continued, Lobna's own battle began. With her ex-husband behind bars, Lobna returned to Cairo in September 2024, desperate to find her son. She reached out to authorities, the U.S. Embassy, and even posted her story on social media, but her attempts to locate Zayn were met with silence. "I'm not going to stop," Lobna says, determination seeping into her voice. "I will search for him until I find him." Through TikTok and GoFundMe, Lobna has garnered attention and support in her search. Her posts show a mother's heartbreak and resolve, urging anyone with information to come forward. But still, there's no sign of Zayn. "I just want to hold him again," she says, her voice softening with emotion. "When I finally find him, we're going to the beach. That was always our special place." Despite the odds, Lobna has not given up. She continues her search for Zayn, refusing to let the terror of the past define their future. As Karim's death sentence hangs in the balance, Lobna's fight for justice continues. The pain of losing her son and the revelation of her ex-husband's monstrous crimes will haunt her forever. But for now, she holds on to one hope: the day she is finally reunited with Zayn. "We'll make new memories," she says, her eyes bright with determination. "When he's home with me, we'll never let go again." This is the story of Lobna Yakout's courage, resilience, and undying love, a mother's journey through unimaginable pain in the search for her son, and a chilling reminder of the darkness that can hide in plain sight. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome content.